Hello and welcome to News Central Television. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories tonight. President Bola Tinubu decorates new service chiefs with new ranks, tasks them to be result-oriented and not give excuses. Death toll rises in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, multiple crashes as commuters are left stranded in most parts of Thursday. President Trump lowers tariffs on China, announces end to rare earths roadblock following meeting with President Xi Jinping. For business, President Tinubu approves 15% fuel and diesel import tariffs as part of efforts to promote stability in downstream oil sector.
And in sports, Nigeria Super Eagles to open camp on November night ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup playoffs.
Tonight begins now. Welcome again. Now we begin tonight at the State House in Abuja, where President Bola Tinubu on Thursday officially decorated the newly appointed service chiefs with their new ranks at a ceremony held inside the council chamber of the presidential villa in Abuja. The event followed Wednesday's Senate confirmation of the top military officers after their nomination by the president. State House correspondent Bettina Nweli here reports.
The ceremony took place at the council chambers of the presidential villa Abuja following the Senate's confirmation of their appointments.
I charge you as head of our nation's armed forces to carry out your duties with patriotic zeal. Nigerians expect result and not excuses. We are in a hurry to celebrate peace. I charge you also to be innovative, creative, and courageous. Let's stay ahead of those who seek to threaten our peace, freedom, and stability. Let us deploy technology where necessary. We cannot allow the crisis that began in year 2009 to persist any longer. It is time to defeat the enemies.
The new service chiefs include General Olufemi Oluyede as Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu as Chief of Army Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke as Chief of Air Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas as Chief of Naval Staff, and Emmanuel Undiandiye as Chief of Defense Intelligence.
I want to assure Mr. President and all Nigerians today that we'll do our utmost best to ensure that we rid Nigeria of all forms of criminality and make Nigeria safer so that socio-economic endeavors can thrive. We pledge our loyalty to Mr. President, and we assure you that we'll continue to support the flourishing democracy and support all your government aspirations to make Nigeria better. That's our pledge for you today.
President Tinubu's recent shakeup in the military leadership is seen as a strategic move to refocus and strengthen national security. In Abuja for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
On this topic, we'll be joining retired General Chris Olukolade. He'll be joining us shortly for the conversation. But for now, let's move on to other stories. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration over the review of presidential pardon list. In a statement issued and signed by Frank Shaibu, the senior special assistant on public communication to former Vice President Atiku, described the move as an act of acting before thinking. While accusing the government of being reactive and lacking foresight, Atiku also questioned how the initial list of pardon beneficiaries was compiled and approved, demanding accountability from those involved in the process. He argued that the episode reflects a recurring pattern of poor decision-making by the Tinubu administration. Meanwhile, the Lagos chapter of the All Progressives Congress has faulted the former vice president over his remarks. Lawyer Liberus Oshoma joins us now to put this development in proper perspective. Thank you very much, Liberus, for joining us tonight. Now, Liberus, in light of the widespread public criticism following the initial pardon list that was released, of which you were one of the very first people to criticize, what specific factors and public sentiments influenced President Tinubu's decision to reduce the list from 175 to 34 convicts?
Yeah, thank you very much. What informed the criticism was not far-fetched. When you look at the challenges bedeviling the country now, and then you look at the initial list, you marvel. You ask yourself, where lies the motivation for security forces, for our crime forces, our economic crime fighters? You know, when you see people put in their effort, put in their best, you know, to put people who are renegades, if you want to use that word, or who consistently, like the president had charged the service chief, who consistently had ensured that the country knows no peace. And then when you see people, you know, put them behind bars, and then the next thing you hear that they've been granted pardon, certainly it will demotivate whoever is fighting against insecurity. It will demotivate those people fighting crime and drugs. It will demotivate those people fighting economic crimes. You know, so that's what informed the general, you know, outcry from the people. And also with the steps that the president has taken, it is a welcome development. It's also very clear that if people join their voices together to demand for something from the government, whether the government agrees or not, in a democratic dispensation, and once you push, certainly you would achieve the goal. It is a win for the media. It is a win for the Nigerian people. And then, Liberus, like I said...
But Liberus...
Sorry, quickly.
Okay.
Sorry, quickly. What also has happened is the fact that it's obvious that the initial list and the office that was handling this presidential advisory body on pardon, it was obvious that they were not doing their job very well. So it is not enough to just review the list. Okay. It would also be good for people to be punished. Okay. You know, how those names got there. That's
exactly what I was going to ask you. You say the people cried out, and then the president has reviewed the list. So now that we have 34 instead of 175, under the circumstances we saw some of those pardons, there were very many questions. What now? What must the president do? How can we make sure that this doesn't reoccur again?
Yeah, some of the things that must be done is what the president has done. He has moved the office from the Office of the Special Duties, Ministry of Special Duties, to the Attorney General's office. And he has also charged the Attorney General to come up with criteria for the criteria that, you know, inmates must meet before they can be pardoned. And also, he has also charged the Attorney General to ensure that stakeholders are consulted before anybody is pardoned, especially stakeholders in security agencies, the anti-crime agencies, and then also the media and the everyday person. Because sometimes it is the media that actually keeps a tab on most of these activities, and then the everyday people, the reasonable man test, like we say in court. So that's, for me, it's what should be done next. And then secondly, it is not enough to just say we have reviewed the list. I think at this stage there's need for the heads to roll. How did some of these names get to the list? You know, does it mean that somebody didn't review that list before they sent it to Mr. President? And I must also quickly say this. Some persons have alleged that the president, by virtue of Section 175, will need to go back to the National Council of States before that list can be approved. That's not correct. Subsection 2 of Section 175 says the president shall consult. It did not say must get the consent. So what the president has done is, in order, he has consulted the Council of State, and they have granted approval. He has consulted with them, and he has gone ahead to review a list. And so it's perfectly in order. It does not need to go back to get their consent. But I believe head should rule.
Okay.
How did this kind of embarrassment come in the first place?
Thank you for that clarification regarding subsection 175 sub 2. I was going to ask about that, but against the backdrop of everything that's been happening and the review, let's talk about paroles. Maybe you could tell us how a parole board actually works. Some persons have recommended creating a parole board like what we have in American systems to avoid a repeat of such scenario. Do you agree with the recommendation?
I do not. When things like this happen, a lot of people will throw in all kinds of suggestions. Oh, let's have a parole board. And, a parole board work in an environment where integrity is it's everything. In this society, a lot of government decisions are subject to abuse. We have not even investigated how we got to this kind of list. We are talking about parole board. Let me give you an example with the issue of nolle prosequi. The powers of the Attorney General, one of the powers of the Attorney General is to enter into a nolle prosequi when a matter is being prosecuted by him, and the court has no power to ask him, to question him. And we have seen that power abused consistently, where Attorney General, because some persons are related, maybe some persons facing criminal trials, some persons facing criminal charges are related to some big persons, and the Attorney General will just enter a nolle prosequi, and the judge is helpless. I've also had cases where judges who were compelled, who in some cases they are induced, and when they refuse, you find out that they move those inducements to Attorney General, and then the Attorney General will just compromise the case by entering a nolle prosequi, and the judge will not will be helpless. So when you have such a scenario, how do you now say, let's have a parole board? When we know, the kind of mentality that we have, do you know who I am mentality?
Indeed,
and then where, the names on the parole board. Now, we're talking about presidential, and then you're having fictitious name. Not to talk of a board where people can be compromised. You can go to people's house. I can come to your house to beg you and say, please, the bearer, help me, assist me. So what the president has done is, quickly, sorry. What the president has done is what we need to do. By the time we're able to streamline this process, and then we have a perfect or a near perfect system, we can begin to consider parole board. But until then, even the nolle prosequi, I think we should also amend it to give the court the power to question the Attorney General when he's not acting in good faith.
Liberus, apologies for the limited time, but thank you very much for giving us expert advice and also opinion on the matter. Thank you very much, Liberus.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We'll now move on to other matters in the news for tonight. We'll be bringing you more after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, a reminder of our top stories this evening. President Bola Tinubu decorates new service chiefs with new ranks, tasks them to be result-oriented and not give excuses. Death toll rises in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, multiple crashes as commuters are left stranded in most part of Thursday. President Trump lowers tariffs on China. He announces end to rare earths roadblock following meeting with President Xi Jinping. Now let's go back to our top headline, a story where President Tinubu has decorated the new service chiefs and tasked them to be result-driven. We now turn to retired Major General Chris Olukolade, a former Director Defense Information and spokesman of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. He's the current chairman, Center for Crisis Communication. You're welcome on tonight, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Major General, I hope you can hear me. But I'm going to go ahead with my first question this evening. So, the president has called this a recalibration of military leadership. What kind of change should Nigerians expect under these new service chiefs, sir? Major General, I
We
think...
should expect
Okay, good.
an input of their current knowledge of the situation in the mission area in particular.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
We should expect a better, in line with their experience and understanding of the mission area. By mission area, I mean the areas where we are tackling terrorism. Virtually all of them have more experience or data from that theater. That will begin to feature. It's now an opportunity for them to put to play what they have witnessed in the field. Definitely, this will also affect the morale of their men who know them person there. And it will not be easy for anyone to deceive them or make them not understand or be slow. So we should expect some fresh tempo in tackling the security situation.
Well, there are very many curious questions still lingering behind that question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask this. The new service chiefs, or rather defense chief, says he wants a multi-agency, multi-domain approach, land, air, and also sea, and even cyber. How realistic is that plan given our current challenges?
Well, I think it's relatively realistic in the sense that a lot of understanding is now being invested in that area. The training that is going on in all the services have indicated these areas they mentioned, particularly in the cyber area, and also the civil-military relations that they have been embarking on will facilitate the relationship between the agencies. And I believe that in itself will influence all the operations, both locally and internationally. It's indeed realistic, more so as it's not, the vision has always been there in the reformation of the Nigerian armed forces. And to now come this far and to give that assurance shows that this generation of chiefs have imbibed the real spirit that should reposition the Nigerian armed forces.
Major General, I'm wondering, land, air, sea, cyber, all these were apparatus that were available from before. So one has to wonder why they weren't able to use these. Just like you've already said, that architecture was there. Boko Haram and ISWAP, and also banditry, they're still major threats even up until now. What's the most urgent thing that the new chiefs need to do to make progress against these groups with all that apparatus?
I think it's more input of intelligence, and that's where technology will be of very good help. The intelligence input into the mission will make a big difference. I think now there's more input of technology in gathering intelligence beyond the human intelligence reliance. And with that input, there's no doubt that, like I mentioned earlier, we should have some fresh tempo that will at least be in line with the changes for some time to come. I'm optimistic, and I need many people who are optimistic, including the boys on the field. There's a lot of expectation, and the new service chiefs are clearly conscious of that. And we believe that they will perform accordingly.
So along with your optimism and technology, I'm wondering how technology would compare with boots on the ground, the boys on the field, like you call them, their morale now, as they're undergoing a transition of leadership. How will this affect them particularly? Do you think this will boost their morale?
Definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, most of these officers have been there with them in the field. And, seeing that their commanders are now in charge at the headquarters gives them some fresh sense of belonging to the system. It has an effect on the morale. And we believe that effect will have a positive effect on operations. There's no doubt, like I said, we should expect that the input of the new service chiefs will definitely encourage the troops on ground.
So that's the morale for the troops on the ground. What about the morale of Nigerians? The military also wants to rebuild public trust because that's waned off. After years of tension and allegation and also abuse, how can the military regain the confidence of the people?
I think you must give it to them that the military is conscious of the need to improve civil-military relations, and a lot of effort is being in this direction. If you've been following the activities lately, you feel that there's deliberate efforts to warm themselves to the heart of Nigerians, either in mission area or even outside of the theaters of operation. The various projects you see them embarking upon to assure this Nigerian public that they have obligation to serve them as well.
Okay.
I think it is improving the expectation, and whatever tension you say over there, I believe it's fizzling out very fast.
Major General, I just wanted to note that that question was deliberate. I'm asking that question in line with the fact that there are unconfirmed reports about, well, people will call it a rumor of a coup. So with that on ground, how much confidence do you think Nigerians truly have for the armed forces? Or in the armed forces, rather?
Well, the confidence that Nigerians have in the armed forces, one is based on success in missions. I also think it's based on the fact that this generation of the military believes in democracy without any doubt. Their submission to civil authority has not been in doubt, regardless of what you refer to as rumors of coup. You will see that they have maintained focus in service. And the fact that they are not even distracted by the rumor, and everybody is still facing business and working very hard, both in the field and in their various locations, is another proof that not only have they come to agree with the stand that military coups are fashion. They're not in, they're outdated. And generally, the military system lives more in submission to political and democratic authorities.
Well, we hope it continues to stay democratic. The new team says that they are going to also involve the Nigerian police in their, in their efforts. What do you think has to happen for this to come to fruition?
Yeah, I think more of the repositioning of the attitude and mindset of the gentlemen, a lot has to be done to improve on the understanding of the need for collaboration in the field. With my own privilege of an understanding of how it happens in the military, I think generally the military has opened up itself more to, imbibing good relationship with these agencies, particularly the police. If you listen to what the Chief of Defense Staff said in his own remarks, you will see that he was rather even promoting the interests of the police and advocating better attention to the police.
Okay.
That in itself would signal an understanding that the armed forces in particular know the importance. And it's good that other services also agree with them and let all this suspicion or complex, which I think is what compounds their attitude in terms of relationship. When this gets out of the way, as is bound to be this new dispensation,
Major
I
General,
think that that will be well.
Major General, I want to say thank you very much for giving us your expert opinion on the matter here tonight. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for this privilege. Good evening.
Good evening. Still ahead tonight, President Trump orders Pentagon to resume weapons testing. Details of this and more after the timeout. Now to a rather sad situation. Death toll has risen following a multiple vehicle crash on Kara Bridge along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The incident, which involved several trucks and a container-laden trailer, sparked a fire outbreak and caused massive gridlock on a busy highway. News Central's lead correspondent Bernard Akede was at the scene of the incident, and here reports.
Yet another tragic accident on the Kara Bridge along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and sadly this time The fatalities were too graphic to show on air. When News Central's crew arrived, at least 4 bodies had been recovered from the scene, one of them a police inspector. Eyewitnesses say 4 trucks and a towing vehicle were involved in this crash. One of the trucks reportedly suffered a brake failure and rammed into another, sparking a fire that consumed both occupants of the vehicle. Another trailer was forced to the edge of the bridge, its head disconnected and plunging into the water below. Witnesses believe the driver and passenger may have been trapped underwater. At the time of filing this report, a combined effort of the police, FRSC, and LASMA had cleared part of the road, allowing traffic to begin moving slowly again. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, CP Moshood Jimoh, has since warned operators of heavy-duty vehicles to ensure their trucks are in good working condition before getting on the road. And as thoughts and prayers go out to the families and friends of the deceased from today's accident, commuters and users of this bridge are asking for 2 things. One, that traffic be properly controlled on this bridge, particularly as we get towards the end of the year. And secondly, that the bridge be properly maintained, especially because of the accidents that this particular bridge has witnessed throughout this year. In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akedi.
The upper legislative chamber now, where the Senate has confirmed the nomination of Dr. Bernard Doro as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Dr. Doro, a multidisciplinary professional with experience spanning pharmacy, law, and clinical practice, was nominated by President Bola Tinubu and appeared before the Senate on Wednesday for screening and confirmation. News Central's National Assembly correspondent Sagir Ibrahim here has the details.
Another busy day inside the Senate chamber as lawmakers resume plenary to screen President Bola Tinubu's latest ministerial nominee, Dr. Bernard Doro.
I move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to conduct the confirmation hearing.
After preliminaries, the nominee introduced himself, outlining a career that spans over 2 decades in healthcare, management, and legal practice, both in Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Lawmakers took turns to question him on his vision and what he hopes to bring into public service if confirmed.
If you are deployed to the Ministry on Humanitarian Affairs, what measures, what new innovations are you going to bring to bear with a view to intervening to solve this avalanche of humanitarian crisis that we have across the nooks and crannies of the country?
So what are you going to bring to the people of Plateau in terms of providing leadership? Leadership that will bring peace, a leadership that will bring inclusivity of all the ethnic entities in Plateau.
Responding to questions, Dr. Doro pledged to establish a more transparent, technology-driven humanitarian response framework if deployed to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, focusing on accountability, dignity, and efficient aid delivery.
What I will be looking to do in order to bring some innovation into the ministry will be to create a humanitarian ecosystem that is efficient, that is transparent, and that is centered on the person that is being cared for. And I think one of the main things around that is to be able to target the intended individuals that are affected, which is always a challenge. And I believe that technology can help us to be able to achieve that. Regarding the Senate's power to make laws, that is not in doubt. And we will cooperate when the need arises for investigation to make sure that laws are enacted that will better the life of individuals and that will also help in the discharge of the ministry's core responsibilities.
The nominee received overwhelming endorsement from senators across party lines before a motion was moved for him to take a bow and go. Following deliberations, the Senate confirmed Dr. Bernard Doro as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, commending his clean record and diverse professional background. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Outside our shores now, counting and tallying of votes are ongoing in Tanzania following national elections at Dar es Salaam's Julius Nyerere Conference Center, where results are announced as they come in. Now, opposition candidate Tundu Lissu has already declared he would not recognize the election results as key seats fell to the ruling party in a vote he described as marred by irregularities. The electoral body announced President Samia Hassan leads with nearly 97% of votes counted so far. Now, authorities have imposed the curfew restricting internet access and deployed the military, in response to escalating unrest, with reports of casualties in the capital city. And U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing, citing the need to keep pace with China and Russia ahead of his meeting with President Xi Jinping. It's unclear if the directive involves detonating actual warheads. The U.S. hasn't done so since 1992 or tested delivery systems. Trump insisted the U.S. maintains the world's largest nuclear arsenal. The order follows Russia's recent test of a nuclear-powered underwater drone, while China has urged Washington to honor the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have reached a new trade deal at the 2025 APEC summit in South Korea. The U.S. agreed to cut tariffs on Chinese imports from 57% to 47%, while China will resume soybean purchases, continue rare earth exports, and act against fentanyl trade. Trump hailed the deal as amazing, calling it a key step towards easing trade tensions between both nations. Tonight returns with business, sports, and of course, entertainment. Stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Business tonight. President Bola Tinubu has approved a 15% ad valorem import duty on petrol and diesel to protect domestic refineries and also stabilize Nigeria's downstream oil sector. The Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum regulatory authorities will enforce the tariffs immediately. The move aims to align import cost with local production, supporting the renewed hope agenda for energy security. The duty is expected to raise petrol landing cost by about 99.79 naira per litre without significantly increasing consumer prices, encouraging local refinery amid growing output from Dangote and modular refineries while reducing import dependency. And the Securities and Exchange Commission has joined forces with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to trace and freeze illicit digital wallets linked to money laundering and cryptocurrency scams. Announced at the 2025 SEC Journalists Academy, the initiative aims to strengthen enforcement and investor protection as Nigeria's digital asset adoption surges. The SEC is deploying blockchain analytics and AI tools to combat fraud following losses of over 174 billion naira to Ponzi schemes. The collaboration underscores the need to balance innovation with strong regulatory oversight in Nigeria's evolving digital financial sector. A short break now, and when we return, market figures. The Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index closed at 153,676 points, down by 1.38%, reflecting cautious investor sentiment. Market capitalization stood at 97.54 trillion naira. Let's take a look at what's going on in the sectors now. Sectoral performance was mixed, with banking showing a slight gain of 0.06%, while insurance minus 1.27%, consumer goods minus 23%, oil and gas at 0.32%, that's negative 32%, and industrial goods minus 0.25%, all declined. The modest downturn highlights ongoing market volatility as investors navigate sector-specific pressures and also broader economic factors. And that does it for Business News tonight.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Welcome to Sports Update. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will open camp in Rabat, Morocco on Sunday, 9th of November ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup Africa playoffs. The Nigeria Football Federation confirmed earlier today that Nigeria, of course, will face Gabon in the playoff semi-final on November 13th, with the winner meeting either Cameroon or DR Congo in the final on November 16th. The overall winner will advance to the Intercontinental Playoffs in Mexico next March. Both the semi-final and the final matches will take place in Rabat, with venues to be confirmed after a CAF draw to determine which tie holds at the El Braid Stadium or the Prince Moulay El Hassan Sports Complex. The Super Eagles will be hoping to take a decisive step towards a return to the World Cup stage. And now to table tennis. Newly elected president of the Federation, Adesoji Tayo, has outlined his administration's roadmap to reposition table tennis in Nigeria. According to him, the Federation's focus will be on improving infrastructure, expanding grassroots participation, and nurturing young talent for global competition. Tayo hinted that the new vision includes strategic partnerships and nationwide programs to revive interest in the sport and sustain its growth.
We know what to do. You know, virtually everything that has to do with table tennis is privately owned as it is now. The table tennis board, the floor, the surround, the board, the bats, everything is privately owned. We can't get anywhere like that. So we're working on, you know, infrastructural development. Our old hall, that is now a shadow of itself, we want to revamp the hall. That's the knock-up hall. We want it to be all for national players. We want to distribute some more equipment to willing states, states that are producing, not just any state.
Away from table tennis, 17 Nigerian cricket coaches have successfully completed the ICC Level 2 coaching course held in Nigeria and Namibia, marking another milestone for the development of the sport in the country. 13 coaches, including Ademola Onikoyi, Afani Abdulhamid Ahi, Agatha Obulo, and Salako Aziz Adekule, passed the course held in Abuja from June 12th to 15th, 2025, while 4 others, Etim Blessing, Sarah Bakita Oyede Adeleke, and Ibodeme Adolphus Theophilos earned certification in Namibia between September 7th to 10th, 2025. Nigeria Cricket Federation President Uyi Akpata congratulated the newly certified coaches, praising their commitment and urging them to transfer their knowledge to grassroots coaches. He noted that the achievements would boost Nigeria's cricket coaching standards and support the NCF's goal of reaching 250,000 new participants nationwide. And that's a wrap on Sports Update tonight. I'm Favor Itua. Tonight continues with entertainment with Kate.
Now it's time for entertainment with Kate.
Hi, Mazino.
Hey, Kate. Hi. What
Good
do we have
to
today?
Be here. Oh, well, a whole lot of stuff, but we're not going to take all of them. Grammy-winning Nigerian superstar Burna Boy continues to blaze the global stage as his chart-topping hit, City Boys, officially earns a gold certification from the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, marking over 500,000 units sold in the U.S. alone. Now, this milestone adds to Burna's long list of international accolades and reinforces his position as one of Africa's biggest music exports. The certification comes on the heels of Burna Boy's sold-out tours and his growing influence across the US and Europe. Now, with Burna Boy joining the ranks of Nigerian acts like Wizkid and Rema, who have achieved similar feats, it is clear that African music is shaping the global soundscape. Now, away from that, superstar rapper Drake has taken his legal battle to the next level, filing a notice of appeal in his defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group, UMG, over the release and promotion of Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. The case centers around Drake's allegation that UMG promoted the track while knowing it falsely accused him of being a pedophile and used bots and pay-for-play tactics to inflate its popularity. Now, in October 2025, U.S. District Judge Janet Vargas dismissed the case on the grounds that the lyrics amounted to non-actionable opinion in the context of a rap battle rather than verifiable fact, a ruling that Drake now seeks to challenge. Now, the appeal process could stretch into the year 2026, with both sides gearing up for a courtroom showdown that highlights the tension between the free expression in hip-hop and artists' reputational rights amid high-stakes label dynamics. And that does it on Entertainment News tonight. My name is Kate Adeogun.
Finally on tonight, here in Lagos. Scenes all too familiar from Lagos. Situation I was trapped in myself for this evening. So if your loved one is yet to get home tonight, you don't have to worry much, as they may be caught in the gridlock that has spread to most parts of the city following the deadly accident that occurred on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway today. As you can see from the footage, the traffic jam remains around the Otedola Bridge area. We pray everyone gets to their destinations safely. Well, Godspeed to everybody who's still out there. And that's the news tonight.